Get over
birds
here.
Would you shut the fuck up? Birds are being too loud.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, you've got a cigarette and malt liquor.
Yep.
Yep. You do know that, like, this podcast, the reason I knew I had to have an explicit rating for is, like, if I get Tom on and he starts going, there is definitely going to be the curses. So
You have seen our channel, right?
I think I need to tune in a bit more.
Yeah.
There's going to be some offensive material regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll need to, like, when you guys come over, we'll need to, like, come up with, like, a hilarious PSA for that.
I would love to just go through an entire recording with Tom and just try to not swear. If you swear, you toss $1 inside the jar because you stub your leg. All of a sudden, and I learned this from Alberta because I was raising my nephew and everything else, you stub your leg on something, you say, "Oh, son of a park bench." That's a nice little play off words. And it reverts back to...
Good. That was enough random preamble that I was totally recording.
Oh, shit, really?
Gotcha!
Damn it!
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Otaku Crypt Podcast, Episode 8, with a great start there.
Damn it.
I am here with a dear old friend and original co-host of this madness. I brought it up before, but your memories on it will be hilarious to bring in. He is, yes, a dear friend. He is a dark anime expert, I like to say. If it's on the fringes or is post-apocalyptic or creepy as hell, he's your man.
Degree.
He's your man. He is one of the co-hosts of a little gaming program called The Gamepad, which is two very, very scrawny white boys.
Yep.
Swearing at video games, like God intended. I am here with my buddy Tom K. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How are you, man?
Oh, busy as always. This is, my self-imposed second job that pays me nothing, but,
It's okay. I know that feel.
It does provide a certain amount of legitimacy for you to send messages to people you don't really know and get them to come on camera or microphone.
Fair enough. Not only that, it allows you to make a fool of yourself on the internet.
Yes.
Like I have done many, many a time.
And, but not so much video anymore because, one, I don't have a camera that has, like, a flip screen so I can actually see if I'm in frame or not. And I'm a tall bastard, so, like, I can't get into frame anyway. But yeah, as I was saying before I started rolling is, the explicit rating on the podcast was almost meant for you.
I could see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It said, it was like, okay, I'm definitely going to want to have Tom on, and he's going to start swearing, especially the topics I'm totally going to have him talk about. And also, because it's just like, if I have other nerds on and they get going, well, we might as well just, like, let them have it.
You gotta let it loose, man.
Oh, yeah. So, I figured we'd start with, you and I kind of had a funny history of how we met.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, we had a mutual friend, and that mutual friend of ours, I kind of drifted apart from him, but I think you still knew him after that, Jared.
Oh, yeah. That was way back in fucking grade school.
And so...
You swore.
Shut up.
In the jar.
In the jar.
But you were like a kid who was talked about, was the funny thing. You actually had notoriety, and it was because you were the kid who wouldn't let Pokemon go. That was the thing about you.
No, I hung on to that shit for dear life. That and the Matrix.
You were a fan of Pokemon, like, after everybody, like, stopped saying it was cool.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you go back into college, it's cool again. Yeah. Everybody fucking loves it.
Yep. Like, you were just ahead of your time was all.
You swore again.
Shut up, Mike.
Tom's gamepad co-host Mike is off in the background.
Mike's here, Mad Mike.
I'm sorry.
being the peanut gallery back there. It's all good.
We have an observer.
And so that was what you were talked about. And then, I kind of had a phase in grade school where I, like, stopped watching nerdy stuff and anime, tried to be the cool kid, was playing football all the time. Yeah, football's cool. And basically around 7th, 8th grade, I started to get back into it.
Yeah.
And then come high school, we had our anime club.
Of course.
And this was my tangent moment, and you were a part of it. I showed up to that anime club as a naive 9th grader. Not really knowing much. I'd been to my first Anime North and got my dash of culture shock.
See,
from that.
you went to Anime North before I did.
Yes, I went in grade 8 for a day. I started early, and I show up to this anime club, and there is every person who was made fun of in grade school for being a complete fucking weirdo showed up to this club, and I'm like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into?
But they look badass as fuck.
Yes, and it took like a couple of weeks for me to realize that, like, oh, I was faking it that whole time in grade school. These are actually my people, and you were one of them.
And see, I remember going with you on the trips to Anime North. As soon as we hit the bridge, just as we get there and see the cosplayers, you'd all of a sudden go, "Ah, the land of my people. We're
home.
back. We're home."
I'm home. I am home.
I remember that.
Yep. Oh yeah, and, like I've lost a bit of my edge, but like I was giddy as hell going to those.
Well, hell, we've always been joking around when we were in high school saying we'd still be fucking 80-year-old men with fucking oxygen tanks hooked up to our backs still going to Anime North.
I'm like still saying like I'm just planning my old man cosplays. The list is getting longer, so it's gonna be good
They're
times.
coming out. Like, I forget,
Robo Gandalf.
I forget his name. Psychopath, the old guy from season 1.
I haven't done Psychopath yet.
Oh, really? Oh, it's such a good show. Such a good show. I highly recommend it.
I was saying this on my last podcast, is that I'm having an anime resurgence. I'm actually like watching like new shows weekly again.
Have you watched Parasite?
No, but it's been on the radar. Like
It's really good.
yeah,
really good.
I saw that and like saw like
He reminds
eyeballs coming out of hands. Like, oh, Tom.
the main character kind of reminds me of you.
Oh no.
Yep. Starts off with, glasses and the whole bit, and all of a sudden, he gets his parasite and he becomes a complete badass.
So, what was my parasite? What did I get to become a badass?
So what, like Akira?
In a way, only less apocalypsy.
Oh, that's no fun.
No, okay. That'd be delving into spoiler territory.
Yeah, not too many spoilers.
Needless to say, he gets his parasite, shit happens, the parasite kind of helps him out a bit, and he becomes a complete badass with superhuman abilities.
There you go. That sounds like you. Anytime I watch something that like has like flesh popping for people to morph into something, I'm like, oh, I should forward this to Tom. my last attempt at like a straight horror series was like, it was these shorts called Pupa.
Pupa?
Yeah.
I know Yami Shibai,
Okay.
which is, you might really like it. Yami Shibai is they're short 5-minute videos roughly, and they have to deal with Japanese horror folklore.
Okay.
They're really interesting. You can watch it on Crunchyroll. I've checked it out. It's free. You do have to deal with the advertisement.
Unless you have a premium account like moi.
Shut up, you. But
Crunchyroll sounds delicious.
I know.
And
It does.
And it is, because it's like so much fracking anime.
I know. But really, check it out. Yami Shibai. Really good.
All right.
There's 2 seasons.
All right. Something to look into for sure. And so this is kind of what I wanted to have you on, is because amongst all my anime friends, you have the darker taste.
Oh, I love the dark stuff.
And just kind of, I don't know if I've ever really asked you, is like, why do you gravitate that way, do you think?
It's really, it has to do with since I was little. Shut up, Mike.
I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy. You're crazy.
I said mental instability.
Who am I? What number did you call? Don't ever call here again. But, no, it's always been since I was little, like, Dragon Ball I loved because, certain monsters they fought in there. Sailor Moon, surprisingly, I didn't think at the time when I was little was a more girly thing because they fought monsters.
The Negaverse creatures were pretty gruesome in that first run, so yeah.
No, I've just always had a thing for horror and monsters since I was little, until I think I was about 8 years old, and I watched the Tales from the Dark Side movie.
Okay.
That one.
Okay.
It was fucked up. And it, like, you had, cats crawling out of a dude's mouth and shit, and Like I was too young to be watching that movie. That put me off of horror for a while.
I like to say I was too young for a lot of stuff, namely Spawn.
Spawn.
Oh, that was a beautiful movie.
Spawn, no, I'm talking the animated series.
My parents never let me watch it. However, I did watch a live action movie.
Spawn, the animated series, was actually on Teletoon at night.
Yeah.
Back when I was, I was like, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
And Teletoon at night was like, that is where I saw Cyber 6.
Yeah. Yes, I remember
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is where you saw, like, they did Cyber 6 and...
The guys from Cyber 6, they did some work on the Animatrix as well.
Yeah. So, after Cyber 6 was Spawn, and they did play it unedited, and that is an 18A show.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Very much so. I remember that.
And, that was pretty much, like, my darkest thing at the time, and I still love it, because it's, especially if you have it, like, on the most current edition of DVDs, they all open with Todd McFarlane kind of, like, asking some grand philosophical question, and then the episode kind of revolves around it.
Kind of reminds me of the opening to Berserk, if you've ever watched that anime.
I have, because I used to work at a video store, for those who don't know. I worked at a video store for a year, and anime rarely came through.
Yeah.
And it was also, the town we grew up in was not... It's not like a metropolitan town. It's very, very white.
Yeah.
And so people...
I'm still living here. Fuck.
People didn't rent anime, so when something was like seen as like doesn't rent very well, it gets put up for sale pretty quick, and I'd be the guy to scoop them up at half price.
Same. Hell, I remember when...
And one of them was like the condensed movie version of Berserk.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Those. Those are really well done.
Mm-hmm.
However, I highly recommend you watch the original 1990s version first, because it's kind of like the Ghost in the Shell condensed,
Okay.
like the Laughing Man and the Individual 11. They're very condensed, and it leaves a lot of the important stuff out.
Okay, so it's kind of like the Gundam Seed movies.
Yeah, exactly like that. Exactly like that.
You're gonna get the whole story, but you're gonna miss.
You're gonna miss some of the important backstory.
cool.
It's exactly like that.
Cool. All right. Well, that's when I've got like a few like ongoing shows right now, and I think the idea is gonna be like when they wrap up, I'm gonna dive back to older stuff again.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be my cycle
I
right
kind
now.
of want to watch Gundam Seed now. It's been so long.
I have moments where I think I brought this up before. I love secondary characters. I'm never like identifying with main characters ever.
Yeah.
And you probably know this, and you'll just laugh when I say it and go, yeah. My favorite character in Gundam Seed was Andrew Waltfeld, Mr. Coffee.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was the fact that he was always, he was asking the big questions, but he had loyalties that he had to deal with first, being part of Zaft, right? And he did fight for Zaft, and in the end, he's, on the neutral side. But I always loved that I love the idea of being, like, the commander, and that, like, your mind is your greatest weapon, because he's the commander of the Eternal in the end. Yeah. But it was also the fact, like, Kira walks onto that ship after, like, his amazing daring escape. It was Athrun escapes with the Justice, I think. And there he comes onto there. And there's Waltfeld in the chair, missing an eye, missing an arm. But his tone is like, I am so not beaten. He's like, hello, kid. I'm Andrew Waltfeld. Welcome to the ship of the songstress. And I love that character. And it was, a lot of his bits got cut out in those movies. Yeah. And so those movies are great if, those were amazing if like the second series is running. So when Gundam Seed Destiny was running, you could get, if you wanted somebody to watch it with you, you had those movies to get them up to speed in a day. Yeah,
but again, it's like if you really, in my opinion, those things are like if you've already watched a series, but you're like, it's been a while, I just want to catch up a bit.
I want the refresher.
And then jump into the next series.
Yeah, totally.
But I think the one thing, not totally deviating from the topic, it's still on Gundam Seed. The one thing that brings me back to when we were in high school. I still have this game, and I love it to death.
Oh.
Is Battle Assault 3 featuring Gundam Seed. Do you remember us playing that?
This was the super arcadey one that you're really
Yeah.
good at. Yeah. For me, you have it too, I'm sure, is what Never Ending Tomorrow.
I have that one as
I
well.
still have it
that
too.
was a good one. However, I didn't like how if you get into your flight mode, you can't get out of it. I still like the running aspect of it, like the ground.
Yeah, which is why, did I ever lend you, like, we had, Gundam was our thing in high school.
Oh yeah,
right? We were hardcore
I remember
Gundam.
in math class. Do you remember that?
I remember it too. Just us in the dead center of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was no way everybody couldn't hear us talking very loudly about the most recent episode of Gundam Seed, to the point where, like, the muggles around us are getting upset.
Not only that, but we'd spend the whole entire math class naming off Gundam serial numbers.
We played this game to see if we could remember mobile suits by serial numbers. Yes, that's we totally had girlfriends in high school. You did by the end, but
Yeah.
she's still around. She was on the last podcast.
Yes.
She didn't give any dirt on you, I promise. I promise. I was very I brought her on and said, like, you got the dirt on me, so you probably have more dirt on me, but
I really fucking zoned out there. What?
Damn it, Mike. Okay, so Guilty Gear, good game. Buy it.
But I asked you if it was worth every penny.
To tangent totally on this one, whenever you bring up something like that, I'm just looking across and seeing your facial hair go away and your hair turn blonde, and I'm seeing Kosaka.
Ha!
You know it, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
You know it.
Oh fuck, that's actually what got me into Guilty Gear back in the day.
Genshiken. Guys,
Fucking Kosuka.
Guys, if you have not seen a beautiful show called Genshiken, watch it and just go like, oh god, this is my friends.
It's an anime about an anime club. How perfect can it be?
It resonated pretty strong there.
It's good.
Oh yeah.
It is brilliant. It's an anime that is like an exploration of the subculture. Basically, it's the anime version of the Otaku Crypt.
Wow.
Not only that, but the whole anime club that we had back in high school.
Yeah.
It was great.
Have you seen the second season?
No, I still have to watch the second and third season.
The second season's great. That's when they introduce Ague, who is
She's the artsy one, isn't she?
she's an insanely good artist, and that's where the show starts to turn. Like that was like part 2 of season 1. They're calling it, and even though they're all like separated, right?
Yeah.
Now there's one called Genshiken Second Generation.
Yes.
Where it's pretty much girls' club.
Isn't that one on Netflix?
It's on Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll? Okay.
And it's different, but it's like that. I think it's kind of brilliant that in as the culture evolves, that show changed its perspective.
Yeah.
It became all about the girls and they're basically a club of artists now.
Yeah.
And as I said, it is a brilliant show if you like exploring anime as a subculture, and and especially it's the super Japanese perspective on it, like how they get to go to Akihabara and go into 4-story doujinshi stores.
Can I go? I want to go.
I will have my ashes scattered in Akihabara underneath the 1/1 scale Gundam.
Sweet.
But that was a show we resonated with really strong.
That was a great show.
It was us
when we were growing. It was.
It's not even like oh man, remember that from back in the day. No, I watched that periodically just to go, oh, that is so us.
And again, that's what birthed my love for Guilty Gear.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I always related Kosaka to you because, like I said, I've always described him as he's the invincible nerd because nothing bothers him and he's unbeatable at video games. And going back to Battle Assault 3, right? I would never play you. The result was inevitable.
See, at least it wasn't as bad as Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 or 3.
I did okay at Budokai.
But see, the thing with Budokai is, and this is one thing that I've learned, is whoever stops blocking first loses.
So it's just like, it's too meta.
That's why it's not competitive. It's because whoever stops blocking first gets their ass kicked.
So basically it becomes 2 metapods fighting.
Yeah, that's essentially it.
They just use harden until one of them falls over from heat exhaustion.
Just depends on which
Wait,
one
we
knows
talked about
tech.
Guilty Gear.
Guilty.
That sounds like Guilty Gear. I suck at Guilty Gear.
We gotta have another match in
I fucking
Tekken.
suck at that game. Oh,
Tekken.
Yes.
That was fun.
Tekken.
Eddie Gordo.
There's kind of so you're clearly you've been into fighting games. Do you like dive into fighting game culture at all?
Him?
Like the big tournaments and
I've wanted to.
Marvel vs. Capcom.
Marvel vs. Capcom was huge
Can't
for
beat
me.
at 30 seconds.
I can't. I got close that one time. Yeah, I got. Sorry. No, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Sorry. That one's a big one for me. I've wanted to get into tournaments, but the problem was
You're not
What-
fast enough.
it's not that I wasn't fast enough. Is that whenever a convention came around, I didn't have a Vita at the time. So it's like, I'm not going to lug a PlayStation 3 to practice in my room.
see that would have been dedication though.
But I got a Vita,
Yeah.
so I practiced when I did some work out in Newfoundland. And what was it, Anime North this year? They didn't have a tournament.
No, I said this Anime North was weird for me. I'm like, let's talk about our different perspectives on it since we're both here and we didn't see each other at all. My perspective on it was a little weird just because of the way my situation worked out. Is I had to I bought a car that week.
Yeah.
I had to make all of my first and last payments. So anything that would have been convention money became car money. So I canceled my hotel room because I couldn't afford it for the weekend, and I drove in every day, which led to me having a very frantic pace all weekend.
Yeah.
It was like wake up in the morning, drive there, go film and do things, and I have when I'm there I have scheduled things, and I'm just go, and the whole weekend just gone because
Yeah.
I was driving there, driving back, driving there,
See,
driving
that
back,
would
right?
suck.
That created a very frantic pace for me. But I still had a good time. I saw, the people who only get to see at conventions. I did a couple really cool shoots. One of them, I think, might have hit 1,000 views, which is good for me.
That's good.
It was Chantel, Zombie Bit Me, and Sarah from Sci-Fi Candy and their Queen's Blades outfits.
I know Chantel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a very close friend.
I've met her once or twice.
Probably through Chelsea, right? They work together sometimes.
Are we still calling her Gigi?
I guess. No, first time I met Chantel was at FrostCon.
Yes, when she was the guest.
Yes, and I cosplayed Ezio that year.
Okay. All right.
And then the second time was at Niagara College.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah. So, what was your Anime North like?
This year's Anime North was a little different for me for personal reasons, but all in all, it was as good as.
Do you find it's losing its edge, and do you think that's the con, or is that us getting older?
Like I said, this year was for more personal reasons for me.
Okay.
You're getting old and bitter.
Yeah, I'm turning into an old and bitter man. Ugh! But no, it's like taking a walk in the dealer's room, which I usually look forward to. It's all the same. However, being older and wiser.
You're not blowing a grand like we used to.
Fuck. I'll.
has
Needless to say, I didn't spend over $300 on unmentionables like I used to. You were there. You were with me.
Let's just put it out. Let's just put Sabine's out there. We were 18 and we wanted to buy Jujinshi because we could.
Yeah, but that's about it. Actually, no, I was 17 and you were 18 and I gave you the money.
Wow.
Shut up, Mike.
I wish I was young at one point.
And it was not like it was not.
Here, Josh. Here's $300. Go. Get something good.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Shut up, Mike.
That's beautiful. Oh. Such a romance story.
We go back a long way.
Hey, it's the truth, okay? It's like we wanted to because we could.
No
Really,
regrets,
though, yeah.
No regrets.
No regrets. I still have it.
Hashtag that shit.
Yep. And oh god,
Yeah, it was-
those were some times.
Those were some good days. I miss those days, actually.
I'm pretty sure it's just me having gone for nearly 15 years that it's lost its edge for me, and this is why I'm looking at other conventions now. Hopefully, like, I keep saying I'm going to be skipping Fan Expo completely, and then I end up going. This year I'm saying, at minimum, just Sunday. Like, at most, just Sunday. And I'm trying to go to Otakuthon in Montreal as my big August convention.
That'd be good.
That's the one I'm kind of, like, trying for
Just,
and excited for.
Word of warning. Since we drive there all the time
Yeah.
on the way to PEI,
Uh-huh.
just be very careful with the Montreal traffic.
Oh, we were going to train it in.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the better way to go. Be careful, like I said. Be careful.
Yeah, no, we were going to be making it a train trip. So, okay, might as well get into the meat and potatoes one that I've been waiting to ask you. I've been holding off with other people to have a lengthy conversation.
Oh dear.
You are the biggest Ghost in the Shell fan I know.
I love Ghost in the Shell.
It is, like, if there was an anime to define, like, if you're going to assign one anime to an anime fan, I'm probably getting Gundam.
Oh yeah,
because
without a question.
It's what brought me in and what I'm attached to. I'm like, I haven't watched any of my Gundam series in a while, but it is kind of the one that shaped me. And Ghost in the Shell was probably that for you.
It was the big one for me.
Yes. And as someone who has a personal attachment to it and all the views on the series, I thought it was very important to save this topic, a controversial topic, not even just to anime fans, but to Hollywood and stuff, is the talk of the live-action remake. You hear the heavy sigh there. He's like, here we go. It's a pang in his heart. I know it.
Well, it's not just that it's a pain. It's case in point, the Dragon Ball movie. I've actually never taken the time to watch it for reasons.
Have you seen Avatar?
Actually, I have seen Avatar in theaters. I think I was with you.
We'll make this a quick tangent on that one. Is we were blind to it at first, I think.
Actually, I thought it wasn't as bad as what it could be.
It was, I think, no, we watched it and enjoyed it because we were super into our Avatar fandom. And on the third and fourth watch, we realized this was wrong on every level.
The only thing that really got to me with that movie was the pronunciation.
The
their
mispronunciation
names.
of everybody's name.
However, for the core aspect of it, if you've watched, say, video game adaptation movies, that was probably the best Hollywood adaptation that you probably could have gotten.
Yeah.
I have to agree on that because he went in, he took the script, he took the story, made a live action thing, and you can't expect more from him, especially considering the anime was so fucking great.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what this is kind of the point I want to make. If that, for all of its flaws, and
It did have flaws.
overall, I have to say I'm not a fan of it. But we have to say, in terms of Hollywood remaking cartoons and animes and stuff, that was the best they could do.
It was the best
Yeah.
thing.
That was the best they could do.
Honestly,
It's like Silent Hill.
they had Appa. They actually did the model for Appa right.
Mm-hmm.
Aang, they had a
The white
kid.
boy.
Yeah, they had a kid. They had a kid that did the movements right. What was it, Bagua?
Yeah, it's airbending is Bagua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had him do it right. They
Sacrificed on the acting, but he could do the moves.
Yep.
well,
I know. We could, we could shit on it all we want, right? But yes, some things were pretty good, and let's just say, I'm just saying, like, that is like the bar of like what Hollywood has been able to do. If that is the best, let's worry.
Dragon Ball has been shit.
Yeah.
I haven't bothered Sorry, I'll shut up now.
So I agree. Dragon Ball.
But yeah, so going back to the original point,
Okay.
with this, all the talk of the Ghost in the Shell one, and clearly it's, Hollywood is so unoriginal, right? And they've talked about making live action movies before that fell through, but for some reason they're fixated on this one.
See, they've also talked about a live action of Fatal Frame. That
Okay.
I think was supposed to be directed by Steven Spielberg,
Okay.
and as well a live action of Devil May Cry, which hasn't seen the light of day since.
Yes. So let's just get into what, a lot of this is speculation and talk right now. They've given an official date, but it's Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Your feelings and opinions on flat out the whitewashing. This is a series that is set in Japan with,
That's a good start.
It is the Japanese section of, this international, cybercrime unit. And the talk is to actually cast Scarlett Johansson as Motoko Kusanagi.
Don't get me wrong. I think she was good as Black
Widow in Avengers, yeah.
Like, she's good. She has the flexibility. She has the moves. She has the moves. I'll give her that. But if you look at, like, Ghost in the Shell, Arise, or even the first movie, or even the second movie, like keeping standalone complex out of it, there is clearly a very Japanese design to Motoko's character. So given that, I would think Scarlett Johansson would seem a little out of place. So I would, like, if you've watched Pacific Rim, I would say, aside from, well, I don't even know if I could consider her accent a hindrance. I would say that the chick that played, I forget her name.
Yeah, I know the female lead of Pacific Rim, and she has been, this has been talked about by a lot of people, and a lot of sites have put her forward as their first candidate.
Like in Pacific Rim, she had the hairstyle for it.
Yeah, she looked like Motoko.
She looked exactly the part.
So, clearly you have like a lot of the same gripes that everybody does. Do you think, and because history has told us, they talked about, they were floating around a live action North American version of Death Note with Zac Efron as Light. It never happened.
Oh, God.
Never happened, right? And now it's like
I would rather stick with chiclet teeth.
for our Japanese movie viewers, is the star of the Death Note movies and Battle Royale.
Don't get me wrong. The Battle Royale movies were good. But with Death Note, I think the guy that played L, he fucking nailed it.
So I was thinking you're having a lot of the same gripes about what they've talked about with the Ghost in the Shell movie. Now, do you think, there's been petitions and a lot of uproar about this, especially over the fact that they're looking at whitewashing already, and an interesting stat that came up about this, and I I heard this and immediately through any support for twisting the story or anything to make it work was, in Hollywood movies, people of Asian descent account for less than 2% of spoken roles.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Fuck.
And yet in this movie that is based on a Japan-centric place, on a timeless piece of Japanese culture.
Yeah.
They're talking about making it as Hollywood as possible so that they could sell it to a North American audience.
Now,
and what I found funny about that is, really, the people who would show up to watch it would be fans of the original. And right off the bat, you're giving them a reason not to.
Exactly. Well, case in point would probably be the Resident Evil series. Something like that. They pretty much put What's-Her-Nuts on a pedestal and say, yeah, she's the end-all, be-all, fuck everybody else who's actually the real badasses of the Resident Evil series. But
But that was like, the Alice character you're talking
The
about,
Alice
right?
character,
But
yes.
that was, they borrowed the universe almost and created that character for the movies.
Yeah.
That I think that was the okay approach, and then there was cameos by game characters.
That's when it kind of got a little out of hand, was because when you actually bring the real characters into it and make it seem like they're less than capable of what they were actually able to do in the games, and make the character of Alice, who was the director's wife,
Fuck Alice.
Okay.
and make her like, hey, my wife is hot and she's in leather and she's super hot.
See, I always kind of dug her in that role because I knew her from The Fifth Element. I knew her as an action girl.
I liked her in Ultraviolet.
Wait, I thought that was Uma Thurman.
No,
it's Mila
that-
Jovovich.
Oh,
Mila
shit.
Jovovich.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's-
So let me just to play devil's advocate a little bit.
All right.
What if in this Ghost in the Shell movie, what if they changed it so that Scarlett Johansson was still the star, but they created a new character for her set in a Ghost in the Shell world?
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Would you think that's the middle ground for everybody?
Maybe, but if you take a look at the anime, Motoko's kind of always really acted on her own. Aside from Bato,
Yeah.
she never really had a sidekick. So just to throw one in for shits and giggles would be kind of out of place.
Like what if I'm just throwing scenarios out here. What if they created a new character for Scarlett Johansson and like they were the North American branch of the cybercrime unit?
See, that would be different.
And this is what I'm saying. What if that's what they crafted in it, but used the Ghost in the Shell mythology and universe, and then like maybe towards the end, like screen flickers and you see her hair and glasses, like.
Now here's the thing. Here is what
the Resident Evil approach, if you would.
Here is what most people say about video game adaptations or anime adaptations. And by the way, I do watch the Game Theorist, who also opened up a new channel, the Film Theorist, who mentioned the same thing. Is that the thing with adaptation movies is that they kind of rip the main story apart to try to make it suit the Hollywood theme. However, it would work better if they were to build off the pre-existing theme that they have going, which, like you just suggested.
And so I forget the name of the director. It was a very Hollywood director. But I'm going to throw this out, and I think you're going to love it. And I say the only people who could possibly make that movie are the Wachowskis.
I would agree.
And
I would agree.
And you know why I say this, right?
I know exactly why.
Because, as you taught me...
Yes, the Wachowskis took, with The Matrix, great inspiration from various animes like Akira and especially Ghost in the Shell. Now, I do know that they've tried their hand in a anime adaptation, which I heard failed horribly with Speed Racer.
Oh, you didn't like Speed Racer?
I didn't watch it yet.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
I would love to watch it.
Dude, we're having a movie night. Speed Racer's a ton of fun.
Okay, I would love to watch it.
It's so silly and hyperactive, and they like constantly like they kept in like the moving background jump kick effects.
See, I would love to watch that because it seems like they would be the only ones to actually do it right.
So I think maybe after you watch that, you'll like, I'm sure you're already supportive of that idea of like, I would say the only people who could make that movie and not have it be totally offensive.
Yeah.
And especially,
it would be the Wachowskis.
And especially, the Wachowskis having, Lana Wachowski going through the transformation of gender and everything.
Yes,
people having that different mindset are less likely to follow the Hollywood ideal of how things have to be.
See, I heard about that too, is that they're no longer the Wachowski brothers.
No, they are credited as the Wachowskis. That's why I said it, because Lana is a transgender woman.
Lana, is it?
Yeah, Lana is the name she goes by.
Well, really,
It's done. It was just one had a personal journey to make. It has not affected their filmmaking in any
no,
way.
good for them, really. Honestly,
power to them.
Do what you gotta.
They're still making movies together and still making great movies, right?
And really, yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that I will stick by, and it probably won't happen because it's what we want.
I like if somebody was to make the Ghost in the Shell live action movie,
It'd be them.
It would be them.
Yeah.
It would be the Wachowskis.
Yeah.
Without a doubt in my mind.
Do we have an online petition to make? Is that pretty much what this is?
Can we do that?
We could. There's been online petitions to.
I think they would be the most perfect people to do it.
Yes, because
they have the casting in, like, they would have the perfect casting ideal in mind. Mm-hmm. They would know exactly how they would want to film it.
They understand the source material.
They made the Animatrix. they actually wrote like 2 or 3 of the stories for the Animatrix.
Yeah.
And like with Cowboy Bebop, they got the creators for Cowboy Bebop to help make one of those.
That's awesome.
I think it was a kid's story?
I remember. I think Studio Bones was involved on Cowboy Bebop.
They had a lot of studios involved, but I think with
my shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Your shirt.
I got my swordfish shirt. On.
And the reason why I really liked Kid's Story was because I think it was the Cowboy Bebop crew that they got to do it. But they had a free-flowing, hand-drawn style to every single frame of that animation. Yeah. And it looks so beautiful and sketchy at the same time. And I'm like, okay, you know how you watch Cowboy Bebop and the action scenes are so fluent? And you could see that with every single animation that they did in that story.
Yeah. So that basically the point we're getting to is Wachowski's Ghost in the Shell 2015. Hashtag it, people.
Pretty much. I honestly think they would probably...
I just want to say, did you think of that, or did I just help you?
I think you just helped me.
Okay.
But honestly, now that you mentioned it, since they took so much inspiration from Ghost in the Shell to the Matrix, it only makes sense.
I worry, I still enjoy watching a lot of movies, and I think, the comic book movies, even though there's, a lot of them, it's kind of overload sometimes. I'm enjoying them, and, I think in this case, we have a lot of filmmakers who are understanding the source material. And what I worry about, and I worry about that very strongly when they're totting it up as it's going to be a big action movie, which is, Hollywood's bread and butter, right? And, and I mentioned this before, that I think Ghost in the Shell, the reason it didn't resonate with me completely is that it's a series, I like to say, it has no middle ground. It's either they're having quiet philosophical discussions, or it's a massive firefight.
That's exactly it, though, is that, or they have the massive firefight and then the philosophical discussion.
Yeah, I was saying, there's not really much of a middle ground. Like I said, I've said this in the previous podcast. I said the only middle ground moment I can ever think of is in the first one when Motoko and Bato are sitting on the boat drinking beers.
Yeah,
and it's more banter, but it becomes philosophical.
Yeah, when she's talking about scuba diving, and Bato's saying, that's probably a bad idea considering you're a cyborg. The amount of weight that your body itself carries. If that system were to fail, you're never going to reach the surface again.
To which do you think even like a North American audience, if they made the movie to that, do you think a North American audience would appreciate the high-mindedness of it, or would they find it boring?
See, that's when you're delving into, I think, more Prometheus movie style. Mm-hmm. Have you ever watched Prometheus?
No, but it felt like because I was not familiar with the Alien franchise, I probably shouldn't have.
But see, that's a thing too, is that a lot of people didn't like Prometheus because it didn't, in their mind, it didn't really answer a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. Which, if you watch a lot of anime, that's the same thing. They like to leave it up to the viewer's discretion. Mm-hmm. And then maybe in the next movie or series,
Yeah.
they kind of
So,
bridge those gaps.
so do you think there would, because of that, there would be a need to explain everything?
Yes.
And therefore, it's going to take a lot away from it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
With the Western audience and the way that goes, I would think so. Like, if you've watched Ghost in the Shell Innocence, the second movie, great movie.
Yep.
Not particularly too heavy on the action, but very heavy in the philosophical sense.
Yes.
Actually, that movie brings back a lot of memories because I was trying for so long to find a copy in English, but for a while, they never did the English dub.
Oh yeah, and that was one of those shows that it had a lot of the popular voice actors. Like and I was watching Digimon Frontier the other day, and I didn't realize how much production work Mary Elizabeth McGlynn actually did. She was like the story editor on Digimon Frontier for the English adaptation, and she, of course, is also a well-known voice actress. Was the voice of Motoko. To me, she's Helba. Sorry.
Yeah, she also did some voice work in Silent Hill.
Yes, a very out there voice actress, but she also did a lot of production side of things too.
Yeah.
But so basically, to kind of round out this discussion, is you have no faith in this movie working. Or do you think it would take certain conditions?
It would take certain
conditions.
conditions.
I.e. the Wachowskis taking the reins on it, and them being allowed to cast who they want, which is difficult. Certain people can have the reins, but studios often will pressure
the producers. All like this is also speaking from the video game industry. Producers honestly have the final say.
Mm-hmm.
They will pick either who is cheaper or who is most popular.
Mm-hmm.
And that also goes hand in hand with the director as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this movie can be done right.
But pretty much everything we've been told would have to change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I know the Silent Hill, not the Silent Hill, Fatal Frame movie. That's been in talks for years. Years. Same with the Devil May Cry movie.
See, in my head, I'm like, Devil May Cry could work.
It could. But originally, it was supposed to come out in, I think, 2012.
Okay.
So there's been some hiatus there.
But see, I see Devil May Cry working because it's built around a Western aesthetic.
It is. It is. But you also kind of have to have that slight Japanese over-the-topness with the action scenes.
Yeah.
Like if you've played Devil May Cry 4, the opening scene between Dante and Nero, that fight scene was, in my opinion, the best fight scene ever. However,
see, I'm almost, now that you're kind of like, you're swaying me. I'm
sorry.
almost saying like, this would almost have to be Advent Children, but with Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
It would have to be a CG movie for like that style of action.
Resident Evil Degeneration and what was it, Rebirth? I think it was.
Okay.
They're great. They do not stray from the universe. They build onto it like video game adaptations are supposed to. They build onto it and continue the story. Meanwhile, if you take a look at, the more Western Hollywood film people, they kind of take the story, case in point, Silent Hill. First game had nothing to do with the fucking underground fire. Nothing like that. If you watch the YouTube channel Twin Perfect, they go through the entire thing. The original Silent Hill is the supposed fire originally started with Alessa beginning to be sacrificed due to her stress and her high psychic power. She caused a boiler explosion,
Okay.
which created the fire
Okay.
that she was caught in.
All right. so, but again, just to play devil's advocate here.
Yes.
In the case of wanting to be loyal to the source material, you probably also don't want a direct retelling, because then I've seen this and you've given me nothing new. I'm seeing there's a line to walk here almost.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, with say Resident Evil Degeneration and what was it, Rebirth? I think it was. Yeah. It's not a retelling, it's a continuation. But in and of itself, it makes its own story that is watchable on its own. Yeah. You don't have to know the entire backstory to know exactly what's going on.
So, to me, all I'm thinking is maybe it's going to take one person to do it right, and then that person will become the template. But the problem is we haven't had that person who's done it right, who has understood the source material enough to come up with something original, but still pleasing to the base audience, the original fans, and bring new people in. And I think that's the part studios are more concerned with. They're not going after the people who already like it and trying to make them happy. Yeah. They're just wanting to snatch up some sort of story to...
Well, again, what is it? I hate to keep bringing up other YouTubers, but the film theorist, previously the game theorist, he also did a video exactly on that, about why video game adaptations of movies are so bad. And he brought up the case of Uwe Boll, who only did it so that way he can do a major tax write-off due to some German law loopholes. So he made some horrible video game adaptation movies, and even that follows through with some of the Hollywood industry, because they film outside of America just for that same tax write-off. So they're not concerned with who likes the movie, who writes a script.
So there was this string of people just using video games as source material to make a shitty movie to get a tax exempt on stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
So that is kind of an interesting aside. But are you saying that you think because those movies are out there, they're seen as examples, and that's kind of poison towards this?
Very much so.
Okay.
You got to think, especially, I hate to say it, but if you look at the video game industry, they're all about money, right? So if a company comes along and is like, hey, yeah, we'll make a video game adaptation of or movie adaptation of your game, we'll buy the rights from you. The video games company will be like, hey, they're buying things from us. We'll take your money. Here you go. And then the video producers are going to other countries to film with a half-ass script saying, okay, yeah, well, you do that. We'll see how it turns out later. And tax write-off.
That's kind of sad. I didn't realize that was, part of an influence on why,
Very much so.
And I'm thinking of a couple of examples that are, I'm going to say it was from the 90s. It was a different time.
Mortal
Kombat and Dead or Alive.
I got to say, the first Mortal Kombat, even though it lacked in violence, like the fatalities and shit, that was probably the better one.
Yes.
Of the bunch.
Okay.
I still have a special place of that movie in my heart.
And I'm wondering, it was the 90s and things were still, and I think a lot of this, especially coming from, fantastical source material, I think Tim Burton's adaptation of Batman kind of set the stage for a lot of that stuff.
Oh, greatly so. He was the first one who not only made the Batman series dark and gritty, but also made the anime series and made a character that worked with the Joker in the form of Harley Quinn. His crew made the character of Harley Quinn, who is now very popular.
Which is ironic because I don't know if you know this. In making those movies, Tim Burton has never read a single Batman comic book.
I've watched the what's his name?
It's from Evening with Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith, that's the one.
Yeah. And, he is quoted as admitting to, like, I've never read a comic book, and yet he made Batman.
But yet he did a great job.
Well, I think I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan. Sorry if I'm going to get flack for it. I think he kind of fluked into it because dark and gritty was just his thing.
Yeah.
And then happened to apply that to, a guy in a bat costume.
But it worked.
But it was also...
Put it this way. Michael Keaton, there were actually petitions to not have him in the Bruce Wayne role.
Okay. Interesting.
People could not see him as Bruce Wayne or Batman, and yet he pulled it off fantastically.
Yeah, I'm saying, I admit I'm not a big fan of the Tim Burton Batmans. It's a personal taste, and I'm an outlier on a few things right now.
Could be better than the Joel Schumacher ones.
That's what I'm saying. But I do think some of the '60s campiness was left over, and that bled through to other movies for a while until people started to take a turn back to the original source material.
Yeah.
Whereas, when it came time for Nolan's Batman, you could tell he was pulling.
Oh, for sure. He pulled that realism into it.
Yes, and I think that is what makes movies good, and that is going to be. The funny thing is, Hollywood is not seeing that. They're seeing we picked the right director, and he got lucky. No, what made it good was there from the get go.
Oh, it's like,
and I think until they realize that, we're not going to get,
No.
We're getting good comic book adaptations right now, but I think
comic book adaptations, yes,
are pretty good right now. But
the video game adaptations are yet to follow.
Yes, and do you think that's going to be the order? Like maybe next video game adaptations are going to get good, and then finally somebody's going to do an anime adaptation.
Honestly, I think so, because the anime adaptations are turning out to be really good. Like, the Animatrix, the Dante's Inferno animated movie.
I'm saying more like, do you think it's going to, that's going to be the learning curve for Hollywood? Do you think next they'll figure out how to do video game movies, right? And then maybe after that...
I think so.
Anime is probably going to be the farthest removed because it's not Western culture.
Anime, I'm not too sure about. I think video game adaptations are going to be a big thing first because they're so close to home. Anime, since we first started watching, it's grown exponentially.
I would like to look at the numbers and maybe have a laugh and say oh, Hollywood thinks they're the king of the mountain, but if you look at the actual numbers, anime makes more maybe.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I would like to look at the actual numbers because I'm thinking,
I can already tell you the video game industry makes more than the Hollywood industry.
Oh, totally, right?
And that's unprecedented. If you were to say that maybe 10, 15 years ago, everybody would have thought you crazy.
Yeah.
If that were to happen.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much all there is. That's all there is to say about that.
Oh, yes.
For
now.
There's a lot of growing to do before.
There's some growing pains involved.
Yeah.
There is still a bit of learning to do and a bit of growing pains involved, but I think that eventually they'll start to clue in.
All right. I said, yeah. And I honestly still have a lot of confidence that this Ghost in the Shell thing is going to fall flat on its face because...
Oh, I agree.
Because they've attempted this before, and this was before social media had the strength that it does now.
Yeah.
I think... I do have faith that this will get killed before anything happens. But if it does go through, guys, sorry to say it, despite all of our hopes and wishes, we're probably not going to get the movie we want. But I think all that really means is we'll appreciate the original more.
Original.
You know, I definitely, you know, coming off of the last Airbender movie, which I grew to dislike.
It could be worse.
It could be worse, and you know, I grew to dislike it, but my love of the original became stronger, and it was also because it was bookended nicely with Legend of Korra being amazing.
To put it in perspective, the Devil May Cry movie, the original person that they had casted for Dante,
Was his voice actor?
nope,
No?
Tom Cruise.
Really?
It was Tom Cruise. However, his voice actor would have done better. Not only that, because his voice actor, they used his characteristics for the main model of Dante. They used him for the actual motion cap, and they used him as the voice actor. So he was, in all aspects, Dante.
So, and this is it's the Andy Serkis syndrome. It's, you know, the guy who is the voice of Gollum. He is
essentially.
He's the mocap guy for it. It's, you know,
He did the acting. He did the mocap. He did the voice.
Mhm.
He is
well,
Gollum.
Yeah. So, yeah, I said there's still clear. It's sad that this is going to be like we didn't come up with solutions. All we can say is there's still a lot of learning to do.
Yeah.
But I think it is important to talk about it, and that. And by talking about it and putting it out there is like maybe going to affect some change. You know, this isn't, of course, like human rights issues or anything. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, I think Hollywood is losing a lot of its influence anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe in that is our like ember of hope that through that something new is going to come up. Maybe the amazing Ghost in the Shell thing we're gonna get is gonna be a fan film.
Praise the sun.
Right? Like, maybe that's where we need to be looking is maybe we need to not so much complain that Hollywood isn't doing right, but maybe it's time that, you know, talented people out there do it themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where it needs to be.
I think
There's
so.
this solution I'm going to offer amidst all this grumbling. Guys, if you're like a big Ghost in the Shell fan, I know there are so many talented people out there, like an amazing example, and in doing that, you could influence change. Perfect example is, did you see the Voltron The End short? It was a 3-minute short
I
about
haven't
Voltron.
seen that one.
That was made by a guy named Alex Albrecht, who worked at G4 and Dig.com, and you know, guy who's a real tech guy and a really creative guy, and he always loved Voltron. And he came up with this short and shot it himself, did it with friends, and like made the set in his garage, did it completely himself. A 3-minute short about Voltron that looked like it was the opening to a major motion picture.
Yeah.
And this thing went completely viral because it was amazing. And what ended up happening was New York Comic Con was that same day that he released it. And the guys who own Voltron said, we've been here all day and we can't get away from this thing that you made. Everybody is bringing it up. And in doing this, you have gotten the studio world excited about it again.
Nice.
So maybe that's the key to something. Maybe it's showing the way it could be done, but, you know, some talented people out there are going to have to do it themselves and not wait for Hollywood to figure out what they're doing wrong and change. Maybe that's the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to be somebody out there making the right little animated short that influences the bigwigs.
Yeah. It's how it turns out in most cases.
I think that's where to put some faith, you know?
Like the Mortal Kombat episodes on YouTube.
Those you know were, you know, backed by some money, but I thought that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, we're collectively at an hour now. I think we'll just kind of round this out with just a couple general questions. You clearly, you know, you're my dark side anime guy.
Yes.
What's good right now?
Well, again, mainly what I've been watching recently was Parasite, which is really good. Cheeky, which is really good. The Corpse Party OVA, that one's really good.
Cool. So
Yeah.
So if you're more of a horror fan, there's some recommendations from Tom there, and he's an aficionado. He watches it and he knows what's good, knows what's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Yeah, I'll give you some more recommendations later if you like.
Yeah.
As
And
I come across them.
Yeah. And
Future Diary. Yep. Miri Nikki.
yeah. And so we were talking about that beforehand. There is a possibility that Tom and Mike will be bringing their show, The Gamepad, over to the Otaku Crypt.
Yeah.
Is still deciding on that, or?
No, I think we pretty much decided on it.
All
Yeah.
right, that is it, guys. You can keep an eye out for these guys. The Gamepad will be coming over to the Otaku Crypt as our gaming show. It's these guys love Japanese games, so we're sticking true to our otaku roots. You'll see a lot of horror, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're planning on doing another Let's Play a White Day. That game scared the shit out of me the first time I did it. So
Oh my god, you scream like a bitch.
shut up, Mike.
I can't wait to cut that footage of you freaking out then.
Shut up, Mike.
So, yes, with that, exciting things are happening at the Otaku Crypt, guys. So, you can keep an eye out for Tom and Mike on the Gamepad on the Otaku Crypt. There is something in the works. I'm keeping it a surprise, but one of our lovely lady friends is going to be joining the Otaku Crypt family, and you'll be seeing stuff from her very soon. There is, of course, we're still in the middle of convention season. We got there's a big hangout coming up. Con Bravo's going to be a good one, so there's going to be convention content on the way. Maybe I'll recruit Tom to be the second camera op guy.
Could be fun.
Could be fun. I have extra rigs.
All right.
Cool.
I got my own camera.
Exactly. That's what I said. Half the work's done here. So, yes, guys, keep an eye out on all of our social media. It's Otaku Crypt on everything, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But everything goes to otakukrypt.com. Everything gets posted there. There's, of course, always more podcasts like this one. And we got kind of philosophical on this one. That hasn't happened in a while.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
gotta
good.
do it more often.
That was good. So, yes, guys, keep your eyes and ears peeled to otakukrypt.com for more great stuff. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Tom for coming on and now rejoining the family.
Hey, no problem, man.
All right, so this has been the Otaku Crypt podcast. I'm your host, Joshy T. See you, Space Cowboys.
Bye.